making money. How am I not going to make money? And this is why networks are so important, is because it's the same reason that wolves hunt in packs. If you're a lone animal, you have one set of eyes. But if you're a pack, war in Ukraine is going to change. And the Russian ruble.
Mamas, watch out.
You can make a bunch of money from the forestry.
Get down. Thank you.
I may not know this, but he'll know this. Now I've made a bunch of $1 million for your text messages, right? Because I have friends who are paying attention. All of us are paying attention. So your network is super important. Specifically talk about money. And a few other things. Okay.
Is that like more like a mastermind?
It's the real world's how to make money, and the world's what to do with money. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So on cover.com, I don't want to get distracted there. But second is network. And third is to identify the reason why you don't have as much money as you want so far.
Bro.
And there's one of three.
Yeah.
No.
No, what?
You are
Look.
either lazy, stupid, or arrogant.
Look at me.
With your own third.
Oh.
And you have to identify.
No.
The majority of people are not the one that can do
Oh
that.
my
The
God.
majority of people are the one I'm not doing.
No.
So let's start with you. The unfortunate reality about money is
Bro, I gotta find something I can lean my phone up against
player
and hold
versus
it.
player. It's like anything. You want that beautiful girl, so does everyone else. You have to win the competition. You want that car, you have to get it first. Competing against people like my network. Competing about people who only talk about money, who understand money very well. This is what you must understand. You're not waking up going, "Oh, this money." You're competing with people like me. You're competing against billionaires. You're competing against hedge funds. How do these hedge funds keep growing? Where are they getting that money from? From the brokies. They're robbing you. They're robbing all the poor people from the pension fund, dummy. That's where they get it from. This is who you're competing against. So the competition is absolutely and utterly fierce. Understanding that.
What you doing,
understanding
baby?
that you're a man with a small pistol up against a mighty army. If you want to add a little bit of laziness on top, you're fucked. So when I say people are lazy, I'm not lazy. I work hard every day. You work 8 hours a day? You work 8? The fuck? If I'm awake, I'm working.
What's up?
I'll be driving
Bitch.
my Bugatti Chiron through Dubai.
What's up, Tay?
Working. I'm
T,
taking that
T.
same fucking
Not
time.
that fight.
I
I
don't
thought it was
take a
Tay.
second off. I don't take a minute off. I don't relax. I don't rest. I don't stop. I don't chill. None. Ever. I'm either asleep
Or at work.
That's it. Second I wake up, I check my phone.
Trying to figure out shit to learn, chat. What can I teach myself?
I'm online working the entire fucking day until the second I go to sleep.
You good? Yeah, I'm good. Why?
That's all I do. And you are at home competing against me.
Just trying to figure out what to teach myself.
And then say you're not lazy. You're fucking lazy.
Trying to just learn shit.
Forever.
So,
That's laziness. Next is stupid. I don't think many people are actually too stupid to be rich. You can be below average IQ and still get very rich. A very small percentage of people are too dumb to be rich. The slave minds, they'll never be rich because the Matrix tries to.
how's everyone's night or day going, chat?
Can't think.
Damn.
We talked about earlier. So
It's already
everything
7
they
o'clock.
tell you is designed to make you poor. They want you broke and struggling. Because if you rely on the government for food stamps, you can't argue with the government, can you? So that's what they want. Who believes in the Matrix, believes in media, believes in the lies they're told. Anyone who sits there and goes, that's true, that it's literally designed to make you broke. That's why it's all a scam. Do your GCSEs, do your A-levels, get in debt, go to uni.
How does debt
get a
work?
job, get a mortgage. Don't worry, when you pay that mortgage off when you're 61, then you'll have enough money to go to Spain for holidays. Then your pension comes. Oh, government doesn't have pension money anymore. Funny enough, hedge fund stole it.
Pay off your money, you like your tax.
Oops, oops. And then you wake up one day and go, whoa, I just got fucked. So the whole scam, the whole story is a lie because they want you broke. They don't want you rich. If you're rich, you won't listen to that. So all of it's a fucking lie. And intrinsically, we all know this, right? When I pull up in one of my 30 cars to a gas station, and people look at me and they see a Lambo or a Ferrari or a Bugatti or a Koenigsegg, whatever I'm driving, nobody goes, wow, he went to school. No, they think drug dealer.
Bro, that pisses me off.
They're thinking he broke the rules.
That actually pisses me off, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Shit. It's all a scam. It's all a fucking lie. So the slave minds are fucked, but those are the only ones who are too stupid to make money. Anybody who understands that the Matrix is lying to them is smart enough. So very small percent are too stupid. Inside of our school, at the height of it, before the Matrix attack, We're relaunching now. We had 170.
The NWSL is the most competitively.
How do you make
Oh man, the league has
that
grown, and it's
work
awesome to see.
for
This is
you?
our big moment.
Hold on, chat.
Find the things you love. Welcome to your Walmart.
Dunkin' $6 meal kit, sausage, eggs, cheese, medium coffee, and 6 delicious hash browns, only at Dunkin'.
You can't fit a square peg in a
75,000 students. Wow. We had 175,000 students. Maybe 2,000 we kicked out to be too stupid. It's step by step. Do this, do that, do this, and don't be lazy. Fuck, it's not that hard, right? So stupid's not the problem. So we have people who are lazy, very few are stupid, but the majority, the main reason most people are broke is because they are arrogant. I will sit here and say all the things I've said. I will do this, take time out of my life for free. Somebody at home will watch and digest it for free. They will agree with the things that are being said, or at least be entertained enough to continue to watch. And then I'll say, I'll teach you how to make money online. Overtake.com.
Definitely don't
I'll
glaze.
sit there and go, nah, I'll do it myself. They're arrogant. They have these egos from fuck knows where because they didn't earn it. And they're just too arrogant to listen to anybody. I became world champion by listening to my coach.
Eliminating multiple debts into a simple loan.
That's not how you get anywhere in life. You have to listen. If Mike Tyson were to walk in, or if Elon Musk were to walk in here and talk to me about money, I wouldn't be sitting there going, I can do that. I'd be like, oh, Mr. Elon, richest man in the world. Hello, very nice to meet you. Please, even though I already understand I don't want to launch a car brand or put rockets in space, please, you must know some things I don't know. How do you deal with the currency fluctuations? Does inflation impact how much it costs for you to send a rocket into space? Like, I'll ask him something that's useful, right? But some people are so brutally arrogant that they'll sit here and they'll listen to all the things I said, and they'll agree that I'm intelligent, they'll agree I'm massively successful, but they'll sit there and go, yeah, but you know what? I'll do it myself. I don't want to join that school. I'll do it myself. They're arrogant. Everybody.
It blows my mind,
I sit with people that I used to go to school with from Lumen who are still broke,
bro.
and tell them how to make money. And you know what they do? They answer back. Yeah, but it's not that simple because, the wife gets the kid, and you know what? I don't like to do things that way. The way I like to work. The way you like to work is why you're fucking broke. What the fuck are you talking about? You just sat here and wasted 10 minutes of my time. I told you how to take your business of painting and decorating or whatever the fuck you're doing and make a serious amount of money, and now you're telling me the way you like to work? Then stay fucking broke. The fuck you want me to do? What level of arrogance? But this is people. They'll sit with a multi-millionaire and tell you their view. Oh, I think that. Know when you're out qualified and accept it and learn. So we all do. I'm not going to I can't play piano for shit. The piano teacher walked in here and said, this is what you do. And I said, well, I like to move my hands this way. What kind of dumbass? But this is the arrogance people operate under. So I'd say 20% of people are lazy, 20 to 25%. A large portion of the world are not lazy. They're actually working exceptionally hard, but they're doing the wrong thing. 5% of people are too stupid. So say 25%, 30%.
Warning.
70% of people.
Debt-free can be a trap. It's interesting to me how many people focus on being debt-free. And it's not necessarily anything wrong with that, depending on what your motive is. So I want to talk to you today about this subject. Rich debt, poor debt. How rich people use debt to create wealth. Did you know there's a difference between how rich people and poor people view debt? There's a difference between how rich people and middle-class people view debt. And so today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all of the perspectives, and the poor person's perspective of making money and et cetera, and using money and borrowing money. I'm going to give you the middle-class person's view, and I'm going to give you the rich person's view. And then you get to pick one, because I believe you're smart. And hopefully you believe you're smart. So that makes at least the two of us. And so I'm going to give you a different perspective, because people say all the time, well, Marion, I don't want to borrow money because I'm almost debt-free. But I've got news for you. Maybe you've never thought about this before. Debt-free is still zero. Now, I remember the first time I ever saw a rich person borrowing money, and I was so confused. Like, why would you borrow money? You're rich. Like, you could just write a check for it. And so a lot of times those of us who are wealthy, when we buy things, we could pay cash for it, but we borrow the money for it instead. And I'm going to tell you a little bit later on when I get to the rich people part why we do that. So I want to talk to you first and foremost about poor people.
Blowing my mind right now, chat.
First thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about poor people. And number one, poor people.
Get rid of that shit. That shit sucks, bro.
Calm down, Myron. I know you're excited. Okay, how poor people make money, how poor people spend money, and how and why poor people borrow money. So how and why do poor people make money? How and why do poor people make money? How do poor people make money? Well, how? How do poor people make money? How? Well, they exchange time for money because they believe this lie that time is money. So poor people make money by exchanging time for money. They'll say, I'll work for you for X amount of dollars an hour. And by the way, there are some middle-class people who also exchange time for money. So we'll get to that in a minute. But poor people,
I'm talking to a hiring manager tomorrow,
one of the reasons they're poor is because their own effort over time is the only resource they have
I'm gonna get
to make
rich.
money. So if you think about wealth, as a spiritual outcome, right? Wealth, abundance. Spirit is abundant, right? Like there's no limit to spirit. It's limitless. It's abundant, right? There's so much that there's more than enough for everybody to have more than enough. There's still be more than enough left over. It's like oxygen, right? But because wealth is a spiritual outcome, if you are using a limited, by the way, it's not only spiritual, it's an unlimited spiritual outcome. So if you look at the 4 levels of value, being the lowest level of value is implementation. The resource that you use on that level is you use your muscles over time. And in fact, I'm going to do it this way. You use your muscles over time to create wealth. So, which means you're moving something, you're lifting something, you're carrying something, you're driving something, you're fixing something, you're building something. You are using your muscles over time. Implementation is the lowest level of value. And so muscles are a what? Physical or spiritual resource? Which one? Physical. Muscles are physical. Time, limited or unlimited resource? Limited. So what you're doing is you're multiplying a physical resource times a limited resource and hoping for an unlimited spiritual outcome. This is why working for money, this is why this can never make you rich. Now, you can do this and get rich, but you won't get rich because you did that. Okay? You can do this as you are creating wealth, but you're not going to do this and get rich because you did this. So the lowest level of value, because wealth is the result of value creation, right? So the money that you make is the result of the value that you create for somebody other than yourself. I did a video a long time ago called Money is Not Wealth. And if you want to know more about that in detail, go watch the video. But money is not wealth. Well, if money is not wealth, what is wealth? Wealth is your ability to create value for someone other than yourself. The greater value that you can create for the greater number of people that are not you, the more wealth you have. Because that's what wealth is. Wealth is your ability to create value for somebody other than yourself. So this is the lowest level of value. So you multiply a limited resource times a physical resource, and then what you get is you get a limited outcome.
You did it. You took an idea on a napkin, built a successful business, and made it look easy. But at US Bank, we remember what went into getting here. The hard work, self-doubt, tough decisions.
How to use debt to create wealth.
Because that's all it can produce. Everything reproduces after
That's what he's talking about.
And so poor people make money by selling their time. And then what?
Writing it out on this fucking board or whatever. That's why it's not really making much sense to you, because you're not watching the video. You're just listening.
What do they do? Because oftentimes, at least this was the case when I was poor, oftentimes when
he's writing down formulas and shit for how he's explaining it, and it makes sense to me. It don't make sense to you, but the only difference between me and you is I'm watching the video, you aren't. So it makes sense.
Money to do the things that you dream about what you do is when you come home from working for money is you anesthetize yourself by doing activities that don't have the ability to make your life better, like watching TV, like drinking a can of beer, like hanging out with your buddies at the bar, like joining a bowling league. There's nothing wrong with joining a bowling league. There's nothing wrong with, in of itself, watching television, unless you're broke, right? Then the television is an electronic income reducer. So what happens is we anesthetize ourselves. What do I mean? We attempt to alleviate our pain by either drowning it in some substance or watching somebody else live a fake life vicariously on the electronic income reducer. So what we could do instead with that discretionary time is we could have some discretion and do something during that time that's not going to be exchanging time for money. We could learn a new skill during our discretionary time. We could build some new relationships with some different people during our discretionary time, right? And so we can build a system with our discretionary time. So how poor people make money is by exchanging time for money. Why do poor people make money? Poor people make money for one reason. So if you look at my concept in Trash Man to Cash Man of the financial house, right? You've got your income window, right? Most people get their income from their job. This is the trade time for money. So that's these people. So the income comes into the income window. Then you have your IPA window. And then down here you have your outgo window. And then up here in here you have your over here you have your WRL window. So
making money and getting the life you desire is the way to become happy and following God.
IPA, what's that stand for? Income producing assets. Poor people don't have any income producing assets. That's why they're poor. They are their only asset. Wealth reducing liabilities. Well, they don't have good enough credit to have a lot of wealth reducing liabilities, so they don't really have a lot of those.
What did you say that was?
Maybe a car.
IPA?
Maybe they own their own house. But the primary purpose of a poor person making money is to pay bills. Do you like your job? What do people say? What do poor people say when you ask them, do you like your job? I got to pay the bills. Think about it. That's what I used to say. You got to pay the bills. So it doesn't matter if I like my job or not. I got to pay the bills. So I'm going to go do this work that I don't want to do because I got to pay the bills. Okay, cool. So this is how poor people make money. This is how, why poor people make money. And then when it comes to borrowing money, how and why do poor people borrow money? This is really sad. And I know this because I used to be poor. How do poor people borrow money? Poor people, when they borrow money, poor people borrow money. Poor people. People borrow.
Bro, yeah, I'm looking more into things. I don't care who this guy is. I'm listening to what he's telling me, and I'm applying it, the things that I need to apply to me. Obviously, he has some money. He has more money than me. He's got a nice suit on. That says enough. He has to know something for the simple fact he has the money to buy a nice suit. He has to know something that I don't. I don't have a nice suit.
At high interest rates.
That's just an example.
In fact, I'm just going to put that. At high
he got Lucky on YouTube.
Rates,
you don't even know who this man is, bro. What are you talking about? Lucky on YouTube.
That looks like a B, but it's an R. Trust me. Okay, so high interest rates, and they borrow money to buy depreciating liabilities. And oftentimes, because they generally don't have good credit, they get intro credit cards with higher interest rates, like 24% or higher, 28%. Or, I don't know if any of y'all remember this, like if you have bad credit, you can start building your credit by, I don't know if any of y'all remember that, get the Fingerhut catalog. You order some stuff on Finger Hut. Anybody remember that? Anybody on YouTube remember that? And so what happens is you buy stuff on Finger Hut they'd sell it to you on credit, charge you an insane interest rate, but then you start developing some credit, and then you can get a Sears card or a JCPenney's card or a Boscov's card if you live in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, right? And so you get your department store cards, and then all of a sudden you work up and you get a Visa card. It's got an $800 limit on it, and you're like so excited because I got a Visa card, and then you go buy a bunch of junk, and then you're late, and your credit's still bad. So borrowing money for poor people is generally a trap because they don't have a strategy for borrowing money. They're just borrowing money to buy stuff that they don't have the money for. Not a good idea. This
Makes
is
sense.
how poor people make money. This is why poor people make money. This is how poor people use credit. And why they use credit is because they want stuff that they can't afford to buy. Okay, well, that's not where you want to be. Like, you don't want to be buying stuff out of a Finger Hut catalog. No shade to Finger Hut. I mean, they gave me my first opportunity to buy stuff on credit. Okay, so you don't want to use the Finger Hut catalog. So middle class people. Let's look at middle class people. Why and how? Like how?
How do you achieve the ultimate shopping experience? Choose a Cub Cadet dealership. Discover a wide range of Cub Cadet mowers.
Why and how and why do middle class people borrow money? So middle class people make money by the same thing. They either sell their time, right? Selling their time, just like and they may have some investments, some small investments. Middle class people don't have a lot of investments, some small investments. They might invest in a little Airbnb, or they might invest in.
But I'm just finding things to teach myself because I have nothing else to do.
The objective of making money for middle class people,
and if I want to make money, I need to understand every aspect about money on all spectrums.
From their job, right? And they have a very small IPA window. They got a couple of investments in there, and they have really good credit. They pay their bills on time, so then they can buy wealth-reducing liabilities that make them look rich. Because then, at least people won't know that I don't have money. So I'm going to buy a more expensive car than I need, and I'm going to live in a more expensive neighborhood than I need to live in, and I'm going to buy designer clothes. I'm going to do all of this on credit. And so what happens with middle-class people, and then you have the outgo window, is they borrow money to buy stuff, and they pay their bills on time, and so they accumulate a bunch of stuff that becomes worth less over time, and then that goes out the door in the form of bills. So poor middle-class people are focused on building their credit to buy things. I use credit cards. I don't use debit cards. I'm going to get to that strategy in a minute. I'm going to show you, when I show you why, the reason rich people borrow money is very different than the reason poor people borrow money. Okay? So this is why. This is how they make money. They sell their time, and they might even get a salary. Maybe they're not selling their time by the hour. They may have a salary, right? And now they make even less money than they'd make if they were selling their time for money. And so then what happens is they do this so they can build up a lot of credit. They borrow a lot of money. Some of them still have college debt, so they might be a little bit more educated, but it's going to take them 20 years to pay off their college debt. And so they're working all this time for this magical time in the future called retirement. I don't even know. I'm not exaggerating when I say this, retirement. I don't even know any rich people who desire to retire. Like, I'm 63 years old. Are you going to retire in 2 years? Retire and do what? Like, what am I going to do when I retire? Sit around and do nothing? Like, why is that inspiring to people? Like, why is that an aspiration? I want to get to a place where I don't have to work for money. Well, get to a place where you don't have to work for money, but like, don't wait to do that. You can stop working for money now and start working for other reasons now. Like, I work to build relationships. I work to build systems. I work to learn new skills. I don't work for money. The money's just a byproduct of creating a lot of value for other people. Okay, so poor people, middle class people, they borrow money, and then they pay their bills on time, but they don't ever really just pay off they don't, like, I'm not debt free, but I pay my credit cards off every month. I have no desire to be debt free. In fact, in 2025, I fully expect to accumulate hundreds of millions of dollars of debt. And I know that's like when I say that, that's like, what did you just say? Yeah, that's what I said. For a whole bunch of reasons. Wait till I get to it. So that's middle class people. But let's get to the part that we've all been waiting for: rich people and debt.
It's not what's next. It's where.
Why do rich people borrow money? Rich people, debt. Why do rich people borrow money? Well, first of all, before we do that, let's talk about how rich people make money. How do rich people make money? Well, we don't make money by selling our time, okay? And we may sell some of our time. It's not what we do to create wealth. So how do rich people make money? Here's how we create money, and here's why we create money. How we create money is by creating value.
I'm gonna go make coffee, chat.
For others. Now, that may sound kind of esoteric, so I'm going to break it down to you. So, what do I mean